is the man we're talking to right now. Andrew Lopez covers the Pelicans for ESPN, covers basketball really for ESPN, has an incredible story up right now about New Orleans high school basketball. You should go check out. Andrew, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, I got to say two things. One, I'm so glad you have a third hour now because it increases my chances of being on the show.
Yes.
Like 1,000%.
Yeah, every time I used to text Andrew in the past, he would respond at about 9:30 a.m., like after we'd already been off for half an hour.
And then two, that soundtrack question is going to bother me the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I hate you for it.
Hey, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's a good topic, and there's a lot of debate to be had. But we are here to talk about the soundtrack of squeaky shoes and balls bouncing on the hardwood and the sweet sound of a silky net as an orange ball flies through it. It's almost here, Andrew. The bubble's in full effect. The NBA's happening. Real quick, off the bat, you're not going to the bubble yourself, are you?
No,
Okay.
Not right now. No, not right now. There are specific rules in place for the people who are inside the bubble. That is a very limited number. You have to stay there until October or switch out sometime in September. So it's a lot of the top guys at every place that are going. So the second tier of access is you only get to kind of go into the arena for games. So it's kind of I don't know if it's really worth it to go, especially in Orlando right now with you having to be outside of the bubble. So there's a lot of things, but as of now, no, I'm not going.
Okay, well, if that ever changes, let us know because I would love to hear up front what it's going to be like to sit at a game where you're watching LeBron and Giannis battle and there's nobody in the stands. I mean, it's going to be so just odd. But I want to talk about this New Orleans Pelicans team. Yesterday we did kind of a reintroducing the Pelicans segment, right? Just catching up on everything for people who had maybe bailed after the bad start or had forgotten in this extended break that we had. I will start here. Very broad question. But when you look at this Pelicans team and the 8-game run that they're about to try to make, who is the X factor? Like, there's a lot of different ways I could go with this, but who is the single most important player to determining whether this happens or not?
I think it's Brandon Ingram. And here's why. You know what you're going to get out of Drew Holiday. You're going to get 20 a game. You're going to get top-notch defense.
Yep.
You know that. Zion's in another stratosphere. We all know what Zion's going to give you. So to me, this thing comes down to Lonzo and Brandon Ingram. Lonzo had been playing his best basketball since December. I think he was at like 14, 8, and 7. Shooting 41% from three. His last 5 games, in which Alvin was like, I think he was playing as well as anybody in the league. He was averaging 21 or 22 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, shooting 50 and 50. So if he still continues on that, he's obviously going to be a huge factor. But the X factor to me is Brandon Ingram. Obviously, before Zion came back, Brandon was the all-star that he turned into.
Yeah.
Averaging 23, 24 a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. But now it's he struggled, I think, at first when Zion got back. The two of them trying to coexist took a little bit. But now that he knows how to play off of Zion, I think if he continues to play at the level that he is capable of, Zion's going to get his. We've seen that. It didn't matter where he was shooting from. He was going to get his 20. Lonzo, if he keeps it up, that's another one. I think it's great. But the one that I'm looking at now is Brandon Ingram. Another throw it in there is Derek Favors. Obviously, we've seen how good Derek Favors was with his defense. He's had 4 months to rest.
Yeah.
He's going to be, I think, a better version of Derek Favors, so throw him in there as well.
And okay, so then I'll go with that because like Ingram, Zion, them figuring out their chemistry, it was an issue. They did seem like they were getting in before it broke down, and so we'll see what they've done over the break. But then the same thing could almost be said a bit about Favors and Zion, where just because of the type of play of Zion, space is great for him. It allows him all that room to take full advantage of his athletic capabilities. Well, Melly is a perfect space big man because he can hit threes and he's playing better defensively versus Derek Favors, who's more of a grinder, more in the low post. What do you think? Like how do Favors and Zion try to find a way to work off of each other?
Here's the thing about them. If you look at the type of player that Derek Favors is, you look at his shot chart, and you look at the type of player that Zion Williamson is, and you look at his shot chart, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that when you look at them on the floor, they should be plus 10 and have these ridiculous net ratings. But they have found a way to work. One reason is Derek Favors the last few years has played next to Rudy Gobert in Utah.
Oh, that's fair. That's a great point.
He had played as the 4 kind of in the offense before. Now, he's not shooting the corner threes. He's not even shooting the mid-rangers like he was, but he's used to spacing the floor. Another thing is when both of those guys are out there, they are dominating the offensive boards.
Yes.
And I think they're one of the top teams in second chance points. So it shouldn't work. Like you think of the ideal person next to Zion, then you're thinking of somebody who can guard fives and play the 4 on offense. Fave doesn't really fit to play the 4 on offense, but it works. And I think it just works because of how much these two, their IQs. And I think that's the part that makes the most sense to me there.
Yeah, and that's great for Pelicans fans because then you do have both flavors. Like, Favors, flavor. But yeah, like if if you want the space guy, you have him coming off the bench in Melly, and then all of a sudden, then teams they have to be ready to defend both. We're talking to Andrew Lopez of ESPN, writes about the NBA, covers the Pelicans, does excellent work. I really recommend you go check out his work. But one of the most shocking statistics that I read, and I can't remember, I wish I could remember the piece that I read this in, so I give credit, but since January 1st, okay, Lonzo Ball, you talked about him earlier. He's been so good statistically. He played the 5th most minutes in the NBA, so they were using the hell, really relying on him. But how about this? Since that January 1st moment, him and Drew Holiday, when they were on the court together, they were outscoring opponents by 12.1 points per 100 possessions. So basically like 12 points extrapolated over a full game, right? When it was just Drew on the court, when Lonzo was off, that dropped to minus 0.8. So you're talking about a 13-point swing hinging on Lonzo. That begs the question, which guard can step up and maintain? You don't have to be great, but maintain some of that productivity when they're alongside Drew and Lonzo's on the bench.
Yeah, you look at, I think you wanted that guy early on to be Nikhil.
Yep.
You kind of, I think, maybe pushed him a little too early. Everybody was so excited about Nikhil. I guess off a year ago, based off his performance in Summer League when he was dropping, I think, 24 a game.
Yeah.
He went through some growing pains early, and even got to the point late where they were sending him to the G League to get work. And then something funny happened in the G League. He broke his wrist, and that I think is going to be a turning point for Nikhil in his development. And here's why: Nikhil is sort of ambidextrous on the court. He'll dribble and dominate with his left hand, pass with his left, but he shoots right. He hurts his wrist in the G League and is fractured. Now, he's only on the G League for a quick assignment. It was more of a, hey, look, go get some playing time type deal. He played a game and a half without his right hand. Like, he broke his wrist, and obviously that's usually when he came back, he had a little bit of surgery, he was out. But he played a game and a half with a broken wrist and just shot left-handed for a game.
What?
Made shots, made threes with his left hand.
Like jump shots, left-handed.
Jump shots. Like, you go back and I believe you can watch most of these games either if it's on ESPN or whatever streaming device you have. But if you go back and look at the second game that Nikhil played in the G League, he shoots it the whole game with his left hand.
Oh my God.
And he's just taking left-handed three-pointers, and he's making some of them. He is so, I think, dedicated, and obviously I don't think he's going to turn into a left-handed guy who can shoot left-handed, right-handed, and turn in all this. But he knew that he needed to make the most out of his G League assignment. And he's like, well, I can't play, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot anyway. So he played a game with a broken wrist. And I think that's why they have a lot of faith in what he can become, because he just wants to be great. JJ Redick has talked about this a lot on podcasts before. JJ Redick has these almost mythical summer training sessions. And every year he says, somebody comes up and he says, man, I'm going to come train with you this year. I'm going to come train with you this year. And he's like, okay, cool, whatever you say. And then no one ever shows up because JJ's getting up at ridiculous times. Nikhil has made it a point that every time JJ does something, like he's like a little kid, like right under him, like, hey, can I come? Hey, can I come? Hey, can I come? They think like he has the tools. Does that work in these 8 seeding games? I think they'd like to see that, but you're also going to have to count on Frank. You're also going to have to count on Etuan.
Yeah.
Both of those guys had their minutes kind of screwed up a little bit because of the push for Nikhil early. So those are the guys you're going to have to do. You don't want to stagger, I think, the minutes between Drew and Lonzo that much, but those are your point guards. And I think unless Nikhil is going to turn into this guy who you think can be your backup point, you're going to have somebody like Frank step up unless Nikhil can make that jump now.
Just real quick here. Did Nikhil Alexander-Walker really grow an inch during
Apparently,
this break?
I'm not measuring him myself, but Griff said that on the radio with Graf last week that he grew 3/4 of an inch. He's 21. He's still in the growing age. So he is now a 6'6" point guard, shooting guard for the New Orleans Pelicans.
That's wild. Andrew Lopez wrapping up here. Okay, when I look at the 8 games, Andrew, let me know if you agree. I think you got to get one of the first 2 against Jazz Clippers, and then I think from that moment you could go 5-1 if you guaranteed beat the Grizzlies. How do you break down these 8 games?
Jazz Clippers is interesting because without home court, seeding doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these teams may, I was talking to somebody yesterday, some of these teams may treat this as 11 preseason games between the 3 scrimmage games and the 8 seeding games.
Yeah.
Just get where you want to get. Some teams may be like, okay, I don't want to be in the 4 or 5 range because I want to try to avoid the Lakers until a possible conference finals. That's fine. So it remains to be seen how the Jazz and the Clippers are going to actually play this. But I agree with you. I do think you have to take one of those first 2. You have to get that Grizzlies game. And then I think when you look at the rest, it's just you just got to go out there and play your game. Ideally, you'd like to be 6-2 when this is over with. I think that gives you a great shot. But it can line up to where you can go 7-1. I think if you can get yourself in a position to where you are somehow in the 8 seed and you make up 3.5 games in 8 games, to jump Memphis, that's great. But you have to take one of those first 2. It's just hard to say what the Jazz and Clippers are going to be coming into that because of their status is already kind of locked in. It's just a matter of where they're going to play.
Yeah, I guess I never even consider that. You could have like a little bit of Week 17 syndrome from some of these teams potentially. Andrew Lopez, he's the best. At Andrew_Lopez on Twitter. Catch all of his work on ESPN. Andrew, now that we have this new hour, we'll be talking to you much more. You have a great day, bro. And, I hope you end up getting to go down there at least in some form or fashion. That'd be really cool. Just to experience, a little sketchy, but cool nonetheless. All right, Andrew, you have a great day.
All right, man. Thank you.